History is filled with heroes whose stories will never be told.
While many American heroes, such as George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, have had monuments made for them to make sure they will be remembered, some of the greatest heroes in American history will never have their stories told. Their deeds done in secret or forgotten over time. Today we will share a story of American heroes who risked their lives in secret to give others freedom on the Underground Railroad. And it happened right here on this stretch of land next to the highway in Camden, Delaware.
It's a story that needs to be told. It really does.
Today, this land has several businesses, a church, an empty lot, and a small graveyard. It doesn't look any more or less important than any other piece of land we drive past. But years ago, it was called Brinkley Hill, a free black community where some of the people living here risked everything to help those in need as members of the Underground Railroad.
People drive by here and have no idea what happened here.
Those that drive by don't realize they are passing a site where Harriet Tubman stayed as she helped people north to freedom, a place where she felt safe while traveling through the South. Acting as station masters and conductors on the Underground Railroad, men that lived here often took her and others many miles to the next station of freedom, risking everything.
It's time that the story Brinkley Hill gets told.
2 years ago, the professor explored the Harriet Tubman Byway in Maryland.
Today we're going to learn about Harriet Tubman, a very good American hero.
As a footnote, the driver's guide mentioned that Harriet and others on the railroad would pass through Camden, Delaware, and get help from Abraham Gibbs and brothers Nathaniel and William Brinkley.
A footnote became a curiosity.
Who were these free black men who risked their own freedom to help others? Curiosity turned into a mission, and what we found was amazing. In an 1897 interview, Harriet Tubman explained how she would often travel north as a conductor of the Underground Railroad. She shared that her route in taking slaves northward began in Poplar Neck, where her parents were, or Baltimore, where her cousin Tom Tubman lived. Both starting points would take Tubman to Delaware, where she would arrive in Camden, where her helpers were William and Nathaniel Brinkley of the Brinkley Hill neighborhood, and Abraham Gibbs of the Star Hill neighborhood. In Camden, she felt safe and comfortable. It's believed that most, if not all, of her trips to the south ran through Brinkley Hill or its still existing neighbor, Star Hill.
It makes sense Harriet would take the road. She knew it would get her to the north.
The Brinkleys and Gibbs would often help her and many others in passing by dangerous communities for runaway slaves, most notably Dover and Smyrna. They sometimes said their farewells near the community of Blackbird or the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal. There is evidence William Brinkley led groups to Wilmington.
If all they did was help Harriet Tubman, their story would be worth telling. But they did so much more.
When researching the Underground Railroad in Delaware, William Brinkley's name kept appearing during the most well-known events. Working mostly in secret, he may have been the most important station master and conductor of the Underground Railroad in Delaware before the start of the Civil War. When Harriet Tubman or others were most in need of help, he was the one to answer the call.
What are some examples?
Believed to be Harriet's most dangerous escape, Tubman was nearly caught in the town of Seaford when she was conducting a young woman north by the name of Tilly. Pretending to be free women, the two were nearly captured by slave traders. Thanks to Tubman's letter of passage, which identified her as a free African-American woman from Philadelphia, they were allowed to continue their trip. They took a train to Camden, where they went to William Brinkley's house. Brinkley took them most of the rest of the way to freedom in Wilmington.
William Brinkley helped the Dover 8 escape.
One of the most famous stories of the Underground Railroad, 8 slaves set out to freedom from Maryland on instructions from Harriet Tubman, who told them to meet with a free man by the name of Thomas Otwell, who was to take them to Brinkley Hill. He instead took them to the prison in Dover, and with help from the sheriff, nearly captured them. The 8 were able to break out, most of them catching up with Otwell, who was forced to take them to the home of William Brinkley. With police and slave catchers hot on their trail, Brinkley took the group out of immediate danger by taking them north of Smyrna. The escape of the Dover Eight caused Samuel Green to be sent to prison, and when there were rumors Harriet's father was to be arrested, she rushed to the eastern shore to rescue her parents.
He once helped 28 people to freedom, the largest group of runaways ever recorded.
By far the largest group to travel together, recorded by William Still, he escorted the group from Camden to the outskirts of Wilmington. With the slave masters and slave catchers closing in on them, William Brinkley ran his carriage too hard, injuring his horse and damaging his carriage. After getting them to an agent by the name of Jackson, the entire group were able to reach safety in Ontario, Canada.
The Brinkleys were also leaders in their community.
The brothers helped their neighbors as well. In 1849, many members signed a petition to try to reverse a law that made it harder for free African Americans to leave the state. William was part of a group of trustees that helped get the Zion African Methodist Episcopal Church in Camden built. As you can see, the church is still standing today. According to the works of Dr. Bradley Skelcher, Nathaniel was president of the Camden Colored Lincoln Union League and led the way in getting a school built for the children of Brinkley Hill. Materials were secured from the Freedmen's Bureau, and he and his brother served as school trustees.
Because they had to work in secret, we'll never know everything they did. But what we do know is enough to call them heroes.
The kid professor and his producer dad are dedicated to continuing the story of Brinkley Hill and finding inspirational stories from African American history that do not get enough attention. As plans for a historical marker for Brinkley Hill get made, we will cover the event and dig deeper into the story of Brinkley Hill, including how the neighborhood began, where the residents came from, and we'll talk to former residents of Brinkley Hill to find out what it was like and how it ultimately disappeared.
Thanks for watching! Join us as we discover the world in a meaningful way.